What's up guys, YvensB here. So I'm trying this new format called a short BTS look, where I'm trying to break down a set that I just did in less than 2 minutes. So with this said, let's get started. So this entire setup was built around the fact that I'm shooting one specific person and she has specific features, and I'm trying to do customized lighting for that person. Because when we're looking for talent, Rob and I were searching through Instagram and look for people, and I immediately saw her. I sent her the DM and saying, hey, do you want to shoot? And the ideas started popping up in my head, and it became fairly easy to build a light setup around her. So the first thing I had in mind, and the first thing that was actually very crucial to me, was having a hair light. A hair light is a light that is either lighting the back or the top of the head, or basically giving some highlights to the subject hair. In her case, she had beautiful curls, and I wanted to highlight that in that setup. I mean, if you take a look at Paris's beautiful curly hair, there's no way you're gonna pass it up in a set. Why not take a shot and try to make sure you enhance that beautiful part of her? So when we built that hair light setup, we tried to mount a strip box on top of the subject head, but the light could not stand basically that much weight from the strip box, so we went with the cheetah stand Cold 45. The Cold 45 is a very extended reflector that basically narrowed down quite well the light that it emits in a very long manner, so it's fairly easy to control versus a standard reflector. So after mounting that hair light with the Cold 45, we went for the main light, but we wanted to start with the hair light because that was my focus for the shoot. But we basically mounted an Explorer 600 Pro with a very large beauty dish, because beauty dish I don't use them very often, and when I saw Rob's beauty dish, I said, well, let's give it a shot, because I really like beauty dishes, the effect, but they're kind of a hard beast to handle. I use something similar to a Mola SETI for the main light. This one was gridded before, but I kind of decided against it since the grid was so directional that I could not light it properly. I decided against it and just leave the beauty dish doing what it does best whenever it is there. So for the fill light, which is the light that you see at the bottom, the reason why I use a strip box versus using a reflector is the control that you have with a fill light that is controlled by power, especially when you shoot at high aperture. Let's say anything like f8, it's fairly easy to mix in, and you can control exactly the behavior that you want it. So if you want to lower it down towards lowest power, it's fairly easy. If you want to crank it up to light from beneath, which is not my style, but it's a possibility, you can do that also. I think it's also a bit more flexible and there's more control using a light source versus a reflector, which can go a bit everywhere and the color could shift also. Also, the reason why I use a strip box in that case is because the strip box gives you also a very interesting eye catch light. As you can see from this shot, you can see that the eye catch light is very directional. Whenever we put it either down or up, it creates a nice, very depth in the eyes, which makes it really interesting and kind of window-like. So that's something I like to play with, and you might not like it or you might like it. It really depends on who you're talking to. I typically prefer octa boxes, but in some cases when you want to have fun and direct the attention to the eyes, a strip box is totally fine. And another light that was kind of hidden in the back was an Explorer 400 that was basically laid on the floor, and we just like lift it up so we can maybe light the background. And as for the camera, I'm recently switching slowly to Sony. I haven't made any discussions about it because I feel at this point this is beating a dead horse. I used to shoot Nikons, I still do from time to time if it's my backup camera, but I paired my Sony a7R III with the 85mm 1.8 FE from Sony. And for this shot, I'm using the Laowa 2.8 or the Venus Optics 16mm 2.8 macro lens. It's a really fun lens. I never really used macro lenses on a subject, on a person before. I typically use macro lenses for product photography. And in this case, it was really fun to basically fill the frame with the subject. Again, the 100% magnification over this is really beautiful. I mean, just look at the amount of details. It's really awesome to be able to retouch this because you can really manipulate what you're trying to do here. The only big downside though of having a 16mm macro lens is you have to get really close to your subject. I mean, like inches away. And I wouldn't recommend it for someone that is not experienced working with professionals. An example, if you have someone that is not comfortable or never shot before, and you have to get maybe like 10 inches away from someone's face, don't use a macro lens. You go back a bit and then use 885, or in this case, maybe get a longer macro lens, which is like 110, 105 millimeters, which will give you similar results, but not having to be that close. And the idea of the jewelry shot that you see right there is just came from me from the subject inspiring me with the color of her hair. She's blonde, she has blonde highlights, the color of her eyes, the tone of her skin, and it just made all sense. And I said, you know what, get all the jewelry you have, put it in your hands, let's start posing with this because I'm gonna get really close to your face. And I'm happy I kind of shot this in the air because it actually pulled out, and I really like this shot. And to go back to the fill discussion, the fill light, I was able to use the strip box to create some cash light in your eyes by just rotating the strip box upwards in order to create a nice highlight in the globe of your eyes. So that's why I think the strip box is typically the superior fill light method if ever you have plenty of lights lying around in the studio. So that's it for this short BTS. Again, I just want to give a big shout out to Rob for hosting me in his studio in Detroit. It was a really fun experience. If you don't know Rob, which I'm sure you do, Rob is one of the most tech savvy person that I know in the photography industry. Also, a big shout out to Paris. It's been really fun to work with her, and again, a girl of her breadth of her talent. Oh, and a quick note that before I forget, Rob and I shot a video and also recorded a podcast. So that will be out on his channel. So again, I encourage you to give his YouTube channel a follow so you can see what we're gonna do. And I'll let you know when the video and the podcast will come out. If ever you follow me on Instagram, I'll give you a link to the video and the podcast as soon as we have it. The video is really fun and interesting. It's a good challenge for us photographers that use brand new pieces of gear, and you'll see it's going to be a real doozy for us. Again, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you appreciated this very short BTS and give you an explanation on how I decide to set up every light. If you do appreciate this, do let me know in the comments below. And as always, happy shooting. Cheers.